Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have guest clairvoyant medium Debbie A. Anderson. We're going to have her on tonight to talk about her work with vibrational energy, her energy decks, her healing, and we all are going to take phone calls after the second commercial break, so don't try to call in right now. We only have the Skype lines tonight. We are going to try the video Skype line. It's the Soup Chat 800 live chat. There's also the Skype ID OOJBland00, but hold on, don't call in yet. We got the first part of the show, like we ever do every Sunday night, is the World Wide Web of Weirds. So we're going to get to that. So let's go ahead and get rolling into the show. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup, and as I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. And tonight, like I said before, our guest is Debbie A. Anderson. She is a psychic medium, energy healer into vibrational energy. That's as much as I know. I will read her bio later, but we'll bring her onto the show. She will be on the audio line. We tried to get the Google Hangouts to work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Tonight it didn't, so it'll be audio only for Debbie, but she will hear you if you call into the show later on. And she did say she wants to do some readings, so it'll be interesting. It's her first time on the show. We'll see if she makes a connection with the audience. And, of course, I have my lovely co-host with me tonight, Jamie D. How are you doing?
Doing good, Jason, and I'm really excited about the phone calls tonight, too.
Yeah, we got to talk to Debbie before the show. Really good energy. I think we're going to have a lot of fun having her on tonight, so it'll be awesome. Let's get rolling in so we can get to Debbie into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, we're going to start off with Digicabra. There's got to be a song for this. Todd Reinertz first said this once with one of these Digicabras, some strange creature that lurks in some blurry video footage out there that millions of people capture and view. The Digicabra, copyrighted by Todd Reinert. Yeah, the Digicabra. This one was super viral, but I mean, come on, guys, you gotta know it was fake. This one was from Argentina too. All right, let me get up the trusty screen share so our video engineer Jeffrey Chan can share the articles. What's up? Oh, we got Rob Autry from St. Augustine, Florida, joining us. A little running late there, buddy. How you doing, Rob?
Yeah, I'm a little late. Just got out.
Better. Yeah, glad to have you. I know you were sick. Yeah, you had a migraine last weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Well, glad to have you. So I don't know if you've seen this, Rob. This is from the inexplicata.blogspot.com. And for people listening on Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network, we are a webcast. We stream out live to Facebook, to our Facebook page, Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. You can watch the webcast there. I read you the articles. I try to keep the narrative and the audio flowing. But there are videos and pictures we show if you do want to watch that, and there's a chat room there. But I'll tell you what, guys, tonight, if you are in the Facebook chat room, I am not able to see it tonight. I will not be able to see the Facebook chat room. I do see we are on Discord. If you go to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network, check out, they have a link there. You can sign up for Discord. It's a great app. It's a chat room. I can see your messages on Discord on multiple devices. It's great. So if you want to talk to me might see it on Discord. All right, let's get to the first article. Like I said, this comes from inexplicata.blogspot.com. Argentina, strange creature slays 2 dogs in Santa Fe. This is what was posted, this picture of this creature. It went super viral. I was like, I got a couple people sharing it to me. Have you seen this? And I'm like, yeah, I've seen it. I can't miss it on my timeline. The creature's shape is striking. It has not been connected with any known animal. This is the stuff that was getting reported at the time. An interesting situation. Our colleagues Luis Burgos and Andres Salvador have drawn out attention to the fact that the story has appeared in early instances. The following is from, well, I'm not going to read all this. There's a huge article from this about all this, but they really need to cut to the chase. And I didn't share the picture. Any of you guys that are Harry Potter fans might have recognized this because this comes from some of the illustrations and arts from Prisoners of Azkaban, from the Harry Potter novels. I don't think they really showed this in the movie, but it was like the werewolf, basically that depicted, and it was totally a digicabra. I love that term. Thank you, Todd. Digicabra. Why do people bother with this fake stuff? Why do they put it out there? We are interested in, I believe there are cryptoids out there and weird stuff, but stop throwing the fake stuff out there. And it's always like some South American country. I'm not blaming South American countries. I swear this is probably posted by somebody in America. But they just pick some like way off country out in the boondocks and say, oh, look at this strange creature from there. So that's our digicabra. But still on the cryptoid front, that's what we're starting out tonight on the World Wide Web Weird. Let's go ahead and move to Article 2. This one is really interesting. This is a Russian film of a Bigfoot. And what I love about these guys, if this is legit, is they see this Bigfoot on the side of the road as they're driving. I know late night in the Midlands audience, you're going to hear some audio from the video, maybe a little bit. But they're driving, and Jeff's playing it right now, and they see this Bigfoot off to the side. You can barely go check it out. We have it on a World Wide Web of Weird playlist on our YouTube channel, Paranormal Soup. You see the Bigfoot better in the clear footage. It's not being streamed. Walk up to the side of the car as they're driving by. They stop. These guys stop and get out and try to get a better look. And they I call it the Bigfoot money shot because like you see the Bigfoot stomping away at the end of the video. Yeah, not that kind of money shot. that would be huge viral. What were you saying, Rob?
Wasn't there the story of the guy that got raped by a Bigfoot?
Yes, there was. And that was on the World Wide Web of Weird before. All right. So a Russian motorist claims to not only encountered a Bigfoot while driving, but stopped his car to pursue the creature on foot. Man, you are an amazing person for doing that if this is not totally fake. Filmed near the city of Severodvinsk, I butchered that. The intriguing incident occurred as the man was cruising down a highway at dusk and spotted a dark figure on the side of the road. According to a local media report, he was stunned to see the humanoid was covered in fur and waving its arms in an odd fashion. You know what his waving his arms like? Like he's off balance and he's a human in a suit. That's what I think when I watch it. To be honest, I mean, maybe this guy didn't fake it, but the video is very. Even when you get the non-stream video from our show, you get the real clearer video. It's still not clear, and I think it's a guy in some kind of fur suit. I don't know.
Maybe he was cold and he wanted to ride.
It is Russia. I mean, it is cold. Here's what I call the Bigfoot money shot. It's walking away, and it seems just like off balance, like he said. And I think that's to me a clear sign that it's somebody in a suit. Jeff, I don't know. I'm getting a little audio feedback, I think, from your end. Don't know. Okay, let's move on though. That was cool though. If it's real, it's cool. Okay, moving on. This next one here is Australian cop shares eerie video. This is members of the police department in Australia were left scratching their heads after spotting some potential ghostly activity captured via their CCTV system. I think the distortion's coming from you, Rob, because Jeff's muted. Sorry. Now I don't hear it. He must have muted. Yep. Posting the video to their Facebook page, the New South Wales Police Force explained that a garage door in their parking lot had been unexplicitly left open despite the area not being used for days. Curious as to what may have happened to the responsible, or who's responsible for the oversight, officers examined the security camera footage from the lot and were surprised to find that the door had actually opened on its own. And in chilling culmination to a weird scene, a broom can be seen flying out of the garage. And it really does. It looks like like, you know, the walking brooms in the Fantasia Disney, you know, the broom kind of like walks out of this storage shed at this police department. According to the cops, they've enlisted technicians to examine what appears to be a faulty door and quip that dealing with the possessed broom is a job best handled by the ghost dusters. Ghost dusters. Hi, cops, you're so funny. Lest one think that the video was merely a Friday the 13th joke by the police department, they assured the public that the footage was genuine and no shenanigans were at work. I love they use no shenanigans because that's what we call it here, shenanigans. It is, man, if you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network, definitely go check this out. I found this on Course, Coast to Coast AM. It's from the NSW Police Force Facebook page, though. You can find it on there. But you can see the broom. Look at it. It just walks like out.
How does it prop itself on the wall like that after?
I don't know, man. Or it's like the kid is like is there like some kid with Jedi Force powers behind that garage door, like in the last Star Wars movie with the broom? You know, I don't know. I know, geeking out here, but man, that's some cool footage, and then it comes from a police department, makes it even cooler.
It's like one of those gremlins that lives in the house but cleans up. I need one.
Oh man, I knew somebody had one. I knew somebody who had that. He lived in a house. He said this old woman ghost would like clean up after him, and he was sad when he had to sell the house. I'm like, I would have never sold a house. All right, more. Let's move on here before we get too late here. This comes from the GloucesterShireLive.com. I'm sure I butchered that. Some English town. My English friends, I'm sorry. You're like, oh, this dumb American can't pronounce it. Clear as day, drone camera captures video of ghost riding horse through Berkeley Castle. This was very viral. A lot of people, everybody in the audience might have already seen this. A camera enthusiast is convinced he has captured the ghost of a knight on horseback, galloping through the courtyard of the Gloucestershire Castle. Thomas Arnold, 41, caught the amazing image of what looks like a fast-moving apparition when he took his new drone to the Berkeley Castle. And what's even more spooky is that he believes the drone captured the image when he was mysteriously lost contact with the camera for 10 seconds. Drusley man, Mr. Thomas says, the ghostly night is a clear as day on the drone footage of the castle, best known as the place where King Edward II was notoriously murdered in 1327. Mr. Arnold was flying his new drone at the 11th century castle, where the last court jester in England died after mysteriously tumbling from a window. Yeah, it's a court jester. They threw him out. When he lost contact for 10 seconds. But it was only when he reviewed the video at home that he spotted the fast-moving wisp of white that was convinced was a knight riding on his horse across the castle. Is this a digital ghost? Digighost? I don't know.
Is that a shine on the lens, like a
That's
lens
what
flare?
I was wondering that too. Maybe. It is interesting. You said you lost contact with it for 10 seconds there, and that's when this footage ends up showing up. If you look at, our video here on our page is being streamed and shared, so it's not the greatest quality. So definitely check it out. Gloucestershire Live is GLOUCESTERSHIRE Live. Check it out. You can find the video footage there. I'm sure if you type in that and look it on YouTube, it's up there too. But I don't know. It does look like a guy on horseback. It looks like a guy on horseback. The wisp. I can see where people make that kind of. It could be. It's interesting. All right, let's move on. All right, number 5 in the World Wide Web of Weird. This one I thought was really interesting. This is from unexplainedmysteries.com. Is a baby is born 4 years after death of parents, and you knew this was a matter of time happening. I've heard of some people, women saving their husband's sperm who died and then having the baby after the husband died, but both parents. The son of a couple in China who died in a car accident has been born to a surrogate mother 4 years later. The unusual scenario came about because the couple, Xin Ji and Louis Xi, why can't I ever have articles just good old American names so I don't butcher them to death, had been trying to vitro fertilization in an effort to have children, and Liu had been scheduled to have one of the fertilized embryos transplanted just 4 days before they were both killed. It's so sad. The couple's parents spent 3 years attempting to acquire the rights to the embryos in what turned out to be one of the most complex and unprecedented legal cases in the country's history. Both sets of parents eventually won custody of the embryos in 2017. Because surrogacy is illegal in China, they traveled to Laos to find a surrogate mother. Eventually, though, they succeeded in finding one, and the child, who has been named Titan, or Titanian, Tian. Okay, Okay. Was born. Titan eyes look like my daughter's, but overall he looks more like his father, said Liu's mother. Deciding how to tell their grandchild what happened to his parents, however, will be difficult. The boy is destined to be sad on his arrival into the world, said Shin Zin, Tatian's parental grandfather. Other babies have their fathers and mothers, but he doesn't. It's like, I can see why the grandparents, and they lost their children. No matter how old their children were, they're always their babies. And it's like they wanted a piece of them. They wanted the grandkids. You know, it's so sad. But at the same time, it's kind of happy. I mean, they at least have something that nobody else would have, you know, because of science, because they were able to do this. And I know some people are uncomfortable with it. But I thought it was pretty cool that they were able to do this legally. You know, they went through a lot to make this child come to life.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
While so many others are so willing to throw children's lives away for nothing. So, sorry, off my soapbox. Okay. Back on my soapbox. No. FOI requests. This is number 6 here. FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request, accidentally provides government mind control files. This comes from Magaya.com. A recent FOIA request by investigative journalism website Muckrock resulted in the release of some bizarre documents. I put one of them up here, pertaining to the government's mind control programs, involving psychotronic weapons. Muckrock has originally requested documents related to terrorism threats from the Washington State Fusion Center, a division associated with the Department of Homeland Security. Muckrock is a non-for-profit publication that makes thousands of Freedom of Information requests, calling itself a collaborative repository of public records and investigative journalism regarding government, politics, and social issues. In addition to the information Muckrock requested, was given a number of pictograms showing potential use of psychotronic weapons used for things like mind control, microwave hearing, and remote brain mapping. That sounds bad. The first graphic shows the outline of a woman's body, pointing out different areas that could be remotely controlled, induced with pain or pleasure, and stimulated in strange ways. Wow. One of the arrows points to the center of the head and reads, forced manipulation of airways, including externally controlled forced speech. Another graphic shows the use of remote brain mapping and mind control by use of helicopters, trucks disguised as communication vehicles, and radio towers. Now, this sounds like every tinfoil hat person that's said the government's watching over them. This sounds like the game plan they were being inflicted on. It shows what appears to be waves of signals penetrating walls of houses and controlling individuals or groups of people, as well as the different resonant frequencies needed to control various areas of the brain. One page contains a website URL, raven1.net, which leads nowhere, while another one comes from someone named Sputritik Saha. Totally don't know even that's anybody would be able to not butcher that. A software and electronics engineer. Scientific America pointed out that one of the graphics was included in an article published by Nexus magazine describing NASA's signals intelligence capabilities in Project Echelon, the government data collection program long to believe to be a conspiracy until whistleblowers proved its existence. There's a lot more to this article. You can find it on Gaia.com. But, man, why do we trust our government? Why do we let them do these things? You know,
who's going to sign up for, you know, those implanted chips?
The RFID chips.
Yeah, no way in hell. No way in hell you're putting one of those things in me. I'm not a Christian or like, you know, it's the mark of the beast. No, you're just not putting one of those damn things in me.
I won't get surgery anymore because I'm afraid they're going to sew one in. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Listen, that's a requirement.
All right, last in the World Wide Web of Weird. Here's another thing to piss you off. This I shared on my profile, and Rob, you're going to have to mute yourself when you're not talking because we're getting feedback from you. I'm sorry, bud. This I don't have an article for this. This is a video for people listening. What we're showing is a video. It's been probably viral for a while. I just saw it like a few days ago, and I immediately shared it and said, WTF, China, what the hell, you know? Is keychains with animals in them, like little turtles that are living, little salamanders and fish. They're in a little keychain bag. And they put like nutrients and oxygen in there, and it's the sign that is at this in this video reads in Chinese that they last up to 3 months, which it does not seem possible. But that people would buy these, that people, some jerk out there, and I know it could be anywhere. I'm not saying it's just China. I mean, America's done awful things to animals, and I'm not a PETA person. I'm not like a huge animal rights person. But come on, do we really have to put animals in keychain bags? I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, who comes up with that idea? Ooh, I have a great idea. I'm going to take it to Shark Tank. Let's put little animals in keychain bags. You know, who does that? I mean, I swear we're begging for doomsday when we do stuff like this as a human race. We're asking for it. Man, I just when you think maybe we're getting better, maybe we'll do things better, you see something like this, and that's why I can see why people quit Facebook. I go on Facebook and I see stuff like this. Man, the little social justice warriors. Well, I couldn't help but get pissed off at this, triggered, because it's stupid. I mean, if these things cost like $1.50 in US dollars, I'd be like, all right, give me all the ones you got so I can go set them free in the next nearest swamp. It's really stupid. Sorry, I know I'm on my soapbox again, but come on. I did share this. If you're friends with me on Facebook, find this link. It's on my profile page. There is a petition. Please sign it. I did. And I doubt China cares, but at least put your voice out there that this is wrong. Let's not put little animals in plastic bags and wear them as keychains. It's sick. All right, when we get back, we're going to have our guest, Debbie A. Anderson. For people watching on Facebook, you're going to hear some quiet because we play music out to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. We can't play on Facebook, so that's why you hear quiet. When we get back from commercial break, we'll have Debbie A. Anderson, and then later in the show, we'll take phone calls, and she will do some readings. All right, guys, be back with you in just a few minutes. Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Debbie A. Anderson. She is a clairvoyant and psychic medium. Born in England, Debbie is a natural healer who has worked in the magical sphere of spirituality all her life, where many have evolved along the way. She is a clairvoyant medium who now lives in Canada and has been doing intuitive spiritual readings for over 35 years around the world. She has self-published 2 oracle decks of vibrational energy for adults and vibrational earth children for inner child and children. Also 2 affirmation decks titled I Am Vibrational and I Am Sacred. Her decks are distributed worldwide. She has also developed vibrational energy therapy, which she teaches to others, and vibrational sound CDs she has also. She has written a body of work of meditations which have been narrated and published by others. She holds a workshop for oracle card readings, spiritual explorers, and meditation classes when she is not on tour. You can listen on her weekly reading on YouTube. We have a link in the description for the Facebook audience. I will try to share that on the Discord chat room. Let's get to our guest. You still there with me, Debbie?
I certainly am, Jason.
Awesome to have you on. I'm excited for the show tonight. I gave a little bit of a description to the audience, but if you want to give a little bit more and tell them a little bit more about yourself, go for it.
Well, I think you covered absolutely everything, so thank you.
Awesome. So my question to you, Debbie, is, I'm always interested in people that have the abilities of mediumship and clairvoyance. Is, how did it all start for them? How, was it, most time I see a lot of them early childhood. Some people, though, get it later in life. What was it for you?
Well, for me, mine was around about the age of 4 years of old. And at that time, my parents were actually going through a breakup. So my mum, myself, and my 2 younger brothers were sort of hoisted off to my grandparents' house. And of course, in those days, children went to bed early. And so we would go up to bed, and I was asleep in my grandmother's sort of big feather bed. And all of a sudden, the ceiling opened and these ethereal bodies came down and sat on the end of the bed. And of course, not knowing anything about that whatsoever, right, I screamed, as small children usually do. And my mum came up and sort of said, oh, you're just having a bad dream, go back to sleep. Well, this kept on happening. And I think Spirit were going, okay, I think we're not actually helping this kid. We're freaking her out. So they backed off a little bit. So I think that was my first encounter seeing Spirit.
Did they think they picked you because, they knew that you were somebody who could see them, that you had that gift, and that's why they were trying to, reach out to you as a child?
I think the thing is, with a lot of small children nowadays especially, there are a lot of enlightened bodies out there that we could talk about, seeing Spirit and our children having invisible friends and things like that, whereas in those days it wasn't. So I suppose it was their only way of getting through or saying, hey, we're here. You may not connect with us now, but hang on there, kid. We'll come back and visit you later. Because a lot of small children, usually under the age or coming up to the age of 8, will see or sense spirit. So any of you enlightened souls out there listening in, if you have a smaller, younger child that sort of starts telling you these very prolific things, just listen, because you might actually learn something.
I'll never forget the time I had that I see dead people moment with my 6-year-old.
Yeah.
It was last year. I think it was or was it 2 years ago now? I think it was 4 or 5, and we're sitting at a stoplight, just like the car in that scene in Sixth Sense. He goes, "Why is that man face down and he's got liquid coming out of him?
Yeah.
Is he bleeding?" And I'm like looking everywhere. I don't see anybody.
Where is this happening?
Mm-hmm. And I got such goosebumps from that. I was like, "Oh, I don't know, honey," and let's just keep driving.
Yeah, kids do sense it, and I always, try and sort of say to parents, grandparents, caregivers, etc., just listen and reassure the child that there's nothing wrong, there's nothing unnormal in that, because, as I say, children are very connected. I conclude, and I'm only concluding based on theory here, I don't know for sure, that, when we come through from spirit and we're born, we're still very much connected to those threads of spirit. And, they're there to help us, basically. But as time goes on, we get past the age of 8, usually it sort of fritters away, because then we start having logic and reason and wanting to fit in and things like that. But some kids, as you say, they do develop later on in their lifetime. So there is no actual age, because people come to me and say, well, I've sensed things all my life. And I said, I try and say to people, everybody's psychic. We've all had that moment where we go, oh, I haven't heard from so-and-so in a while.
Oh, yeah.
And then we either bump into them or we see them. And I always think, well, that's our little guardian angel or our spirit helpers just sort of reminding us that, hey, we have this ability to connect and do that. And, just listen in, as I always say.
Well, what's weird, that I think about that one, because I think I'll see somebody in a passing car or in a crowd.
Yeah.
But it wasn't them. But it'll be like 2 minutes later, I actually will see them. Like, why?
Yeah.
It could be somebody really, not anybody I really know hardly, just acquaintance or something like that, something weird like that.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be what I call so mundane that a thought comes into our mind. I think it was the year before last, we were out on tour, and I just happened to be talking about, with the person I was traveling with, Claire Morgan, who was actually working with me. And I had just said to her, it's funny, I wonder how people travel when they have just like the name like Prince, and the name Prince came up, and then we heard later on that Prince had died that day.
Wow.
And I thought, that sort of, I could have picked any one named
I've had
person.
that. It happens a lot in this household between me and my wife. We'll start talking about some celebrity, and it'll be the next day they're dead. We're like, oh.
I know. They go,
we better
whoa.
not talk about celebrities if we like them. Oh, it's Art Bell.
So,
Art Bell just passed away, and it was just the day before, or not just, it was day before I was talking about a trip I had with Bill Perry, how, if Art Bell passes away, people are going to be trying to contact him on spirit boxes, and you're going to get him because he's all over the radio. And I was talking about that conversation the day before he died, and then he died. So
wow.
I don't know. But I talk about Art Bell a lot, so that could be coincidence.
Yeah. And of course, sometimes it's like, well, why would I have brought that up? Well, why did I mention that? And I always say, we can't send every single nanosecond of the day messages and connections. And sometimes we're too busy in our human environment that we don't see them. But on those times when we do connect, there's just something about it that you go, wow. So, So going back to my story of, how I discovered spirit, through my childhood, I would tell people like your daughter would sort of just make those profound comments or things like that would upset people I didn't realise. And in my teenage years, my mum actually took me to see a psychiatrist, I think it was. So I got a little bit scared at that point, because I thought, well, I don't want to. And of course, we're going back to the 1960s, and in those days, when you went to see the psychiatrist, you got to wear a lovely white jacket and then go in a padded cell. So
oh, geez.
I got a little bit scared with that. So I actually said to them, I've made it all up. It was just a big fib. And so then I got into some real car with my mum. And it wasn't, all the way through, I would sort of I'd make these comments to people about things I saw or heard or things like that. And again, I would either get you're strange or stop talking about that kind of thing. So I think it wasn't until my 20s when I decided, actually, I've been playing with tarot cards for many, many years. And I thought, I want to actually know how to do this properly. So I went in this course and how to learn how to read the tarot. And it was during that course that I was doing a reading for somebody after we had learnt the right way to do it. And the instructor was going, well, I don't know how you're getting this, because this is just not the way the cards are read. And then the person sitting opposite me is going, well, you're actually spot on. So I thought, well, okay, I took note of it. And then in another class, somebody was doing a reading for me, practicing, and she was doing it the same way. So we spoke afterwards, and she's been a very long dear friend of mine, Claire, who I mentioned earlier, and she's actually a clairvoyant as well. But at that point, we really didn't know. So in those days, you would get together, read a book, or somebody would go on a course, that kind of thing. So there were a few of us that sort of got together and would have these, clandestine meetings. They weren't quite. We would meet once a week and meditate and, that kind of thing. And that was before the internet. Yes, there was life before internet. We did learn in other ways. I must admit, I truly appreciate the internet with the speed that we can get information nowadays. But in those days, we would read a book and filter it on.
Well, it forced people to meet more face to face.
Yeah, well, that's true. We actually had a connection with each other in that way.
Yeah. And nowadays, they just meet in a group in a chat room, or meet in a group chat room on a live stream show. But you do make connections with people at least that way.
I know. So we went on, and a group of us went up to the Arthur Findlay College of, I think it was called Metaphysics then, and that's in Stansted in Essex. And I truly felt I was home. Because we were there and did some training, connected with a lot of other people, and it's like, okay, now I truly understand what's happening here. But, so, and it's like everything else that I say to people, you don't there's no easy button and you press it and overnight you become the next John Edwards or the Long Island Medium. It's years of working this kind of work. And, so I would sort of balance off life with my corporate world. And then it came to a point where I had to really decide to either step into the abyss and take that chance, or to continue and, maybe do less of my my clairvoyance and things like that. So I was very lucky that my husband said, just do it and, really go for it. And I always say to people, we somehow when we're wanting to do something but we're not sure about it, we do put messages up. And at that time I was enjoying my corporate world paycheck, but I wasn't necessarily enjoying my corporate world job kind of thing, like most people. Right. I love my paycheck, but I didn't particularly like all the other car that goes with it. So I ended up having a car accident. I was rear-ended, and I to this day say that was when Guido and the boys in spirit basically put a boot up my bottom and said, you've got to get on and do your work. So I was basically taken out away from my job, and that's actually when it was sort of the beginning of the transition for me to really focus on this work and do it seriously as a full-time job. And that was about the time that I actually started writing my first oracle deck. And I thought, okay, this is all happening very fast, so there's a reason behind it all. And, and I know my story is not unfamiliar with many hundreds of other people in life, not necessarily clairvoyant mediums, but people that have just had that boot up the bottom or that plug pulled on them, and then all of a sudden they go off on this completely new journey or focus on what they really should be doing, and doors start opening up. And that's basically what happened with me. So, all I say to anybody out there that's doing anything, hang in there. Don't give up on it. If it's meant to happen and come together, it will, definitely.
I think we all get kind of jump starts in life, things that happen that push us in that direction. For me, with my doing this show, to be honest, I've always been into the paranormal. I've seen stuff since I was a kid. I collect tarot decks and oracle decks. I love them.
cool.
I think it's just beautiful artwork for one. And I used to do readings. And everybody told me, everybody I did reading for was very happy and would tell me a year or two later a lot of the stuff I said came true. But it's something I didn't pursue. I was interested. It was like an experiment to me. And I had a tarot lady tell me, she had me read her, and she's like, you could do this. You can do this. She's like, and I'm like, I don't know. What got me is two things. One person I did a reading for, I got a real bad vibe from. He was a neighbor. And I didn't, I had the bad vibe before, but when I was doing the reading, I was saying stuff, and the bad vibe was coming out in words. I'm saying, I'm telling him stuff you've done this. And and he was getting kind of really weird with me, so that put me off. And then another time I used to do readings over the phone, and I did a reading for a guy. It was the same deal, another bad vibe. I'm trying to. He's like, no, I don't. None of that's true. And I wasn't calling him out, but I kind of was. And I swear to God, I turned and looked on my sofa. And it was storming out, just to make it even more freaky. It was storming out. I'm on the phone with him, which I shouldn't be. And I turn and look on the sofa, and there's this guy in he looked like a zombie in a suit sitting on my couch, and he smiled at me. I said, I got to go. Phone conversation over. And I never read. I have done a couple readings, but I never read for a stranger like that over the phone or anything like that ever again.
Yeah. And what you were just saying there about some people are not ready to accept things. I try and explain to people that I'm just giving you the information from spirit to you. And if you're not ready to accept it at the moment, just hold on to it. And, and I'm seeing, or, how I see sense or hear spirit, and I see them nodding or, this is true. And I'm going, well, I can hardly sort of say, you're lying to me.
You probably have a way better bedside manner than I do. That's the thing. That's why I stopped doing it.
Yeah, well, I think it's also at that time you just have to realize that some people aren't ready. And like you, I've had people come and see me or contact me. I've done a reading for somebody, and they're going, no, and I'm going, oh, okay, and it sounds bad, but I always say just hold on to it. It's either for you or for somebody very close to you. Spirit wouldn't come through with that profoundness. And then I'll sometimes get an email or a Facebook message saying, when you were talking about so-and-so, which sadly, I don't ever remember unless somebody's discussed it with me afterwards, what I've given them. Because I assume afterwards there's that delete button that goes, and then
that's so true. That is so true, Debbie, because people would come to me, you said this, and you said this during. I'm like, I really don't remember what I said.
Yeah, and I apologize to people because I was on tour, and a lady I'd given some information to during this reading, and she went away, and there were some bits that she couldn't understand or comprehend at that time, and I went in and did the next reading. Well, after I finished that, the person that was putting this on, the store owner, said, oh, the lady you saw before just wants to come and see you. And she came back and she said, you're talking about this. And, well, you were right. She said, but I just needed to clarify it. And my friend reminded me. And I said to her, I look like the deer caught in the headlights. I truly cannot remember, but I am so pleased that now it resonates with you and that you understand the message that was given. I said, sometimes, it's I always say to people when I'm doing a reading, beforehand, it's like having a jigsaw puzzle without seeing the picture on the box. So it can be put together with metaphors or symbols or signs, and it's a combination of how it all comes together. I think it was John Edwards many years that was trying to explain it. He said it's like spirit's up in the air, we're the medium's down there, and it's like we're trying to find the right frequency to tune in on the radio, and then we get the right frequency. Now we actually have to find a language that we can both communicate in, that we understand.
I read John Edwards' book, one of his first ones. Really talked about how his ability worked, and I remember him talking. He started out with tarot decks too.
Right. Yeah. I think with all of us, we start out with what I call a tool. And that tool can be cards, it can be runes, it can be psychometry, it can be something. And I think for many of us, and I still use my cards for somebody, just for them to actually hold on to. Are we still connected?
Yeah, I'm here. I was waiting. I
Okay.
thought you had to just keep talking.
Right.
I was waiting.
Sort of
I was listening intently.
So we all have a tool or something, and sometimes people, when they come to see me because they've not seen a clairvoyant before, they're used to holding cards. So I'll get them to shuffle one of my decks, and but then I'll start giving them the information. And then afterwards, they said, "Well, we never used the deck." And I said, "No, I know. I didn't think we would."
Well,
Like, well, what do these cards mean that I flipped over? And so I'm quickly going, "Oh my gosh! Now I've got to, And usually the cards actually do relate to things that we discussed during the reading, but neither of us have actually looked at them. So it's quite funny. But I think it's the tool part that some people need, that a bit like the blankie,
Well,
the small child. That little blankie that they have.
The one way I've had a couple different people that have been tarot readers explain to me, there has to be some kind of way of permission given.
Yes.
And they said that's one reason for money too. I mean, that's a good reason, right? To say for money, but
well,
it's an exchange
yes.
of. I'm paying you, so I'm giving you permission to read me.
Yeah, it's an exchange of energy, and I've had people when I used to do readings many years ago, and they go, well, it's a gift. You shouldn't be charging for it. And I said, well, the oil in the ground is a gift as well, but I don't get my gas for free. The beef that's in, the cow that's in the, the courtyard there, on the farm, that's a gift. But,
people are good singers that get paid for it,
Exactly. And, I don't think Picasso did too badly either. So, that was a gift as well. So I think it just, and I always say to people, it's about value as well. When we have a value added to something, like if you were buying one of Picasso's paintings and somebody said, well, it's $1, and you go, well, it obviously wasn't one of his better ones. They're only selling it for $1. So, no, show me the 100,000 one. Right. And yes, it is. It's a human nature thing. We don't feel we're getting value. And so, and I do a lot of what I call give back in the community and things like that as my, that we all do, as you go along. So, yes, I don't feel guilty now when I'm doing a reading, but again, it's that transition, and I know a lot of readers say, I don't like to charge, and I'm going,
you can't blame them for feeling that way. That was one of my things.
It is a hard hurdle to get over, but then that's where I say to people, then if you're having difficulty with it, put a donation box on there with a few different nominations of money in it, and allow the person to make the decision. But at some stage, you're going to have to charge if you want to do this. Oh, yeah. And you to pay your bills and so forth. But yes, it is a transition, and I've done that myself. I used to have a donation box and, for people. And in fact, there have been occasions, in fact, when I moved to Canada, I suppose I should be careful how I say this, but when I first moved to Canada, you go through this transition, you have to legally have residency to be able to work.
Right.
And people knew what I did, and I thought, well, I don't want to be booted out of the country.
Right.
And at that time, my husband and I had just basically moved there, so we were still trying to pull a home together. So I actually worked for bartering. So we had a very eclectic home to start with. We'd have odd chairs and cups and things like that. Many of them I've kept because they're so precious. They meant something at that time. And the people that I connected with. So there are many ways of doing it. And I always say that bartering, or an exchange of energies with somebody is a very good way to do it as well. I've exchanged a reading for having a massage or a Reiki or, something like that. Or I've had somebody, I think, do some sewing for me in exchange for a reading. So there are many roads that lead to Rome.
Right.
It's just the way you adapt and adopt for your own self, and everybody's different. I can't tell anybody they have to do it this way or they have to do it that way. Everybody's different for what they want.
Now, you design your own decks now that you have, right?
That's right. Well, I'm the writer, if you like, and I always say it was all gifted by spirit, and the information came through. In fact, when I was first told by spirit I would be writing the Oracle deck, which is vibrational energy Oracle deck, I actually did this. Hang on a minute. Doreen Virtue is actually in California. I think you've got the wrong soul here. And of course, I conclude that my guides and helpers have this amusing smile on their face as they cross their arms and look at me and go, oh, here we go again. She's questioning us. She's always questioning us. So after they get over that, then it was a case of, going to write this deck. And it did, and it came very, very quickly. I was so shocked, surprised, or in awe, I don't know, and probably all three of those. And I then had to find an artist, because I am no artist. I'm a writer, right, and I can do that side of things, but the artistic side of things not there. So here's the thing, and this is what I always say to people: if you want something or you're trying to achieve something, ask Spirit. They will actually help you. And I must have a Google guide, because literally I will Google something when I'm asking that question of, I'm looking for an artist, or can you help me with this? Or even when we moved, it was a case of where are we going to move to? And I Googled and then found a place, and we actually do live there.
Or it's an evil AI. Watch out.
But it is, so I jokingly say I have a Google guide, because this is what's happened with all of through the 4 decks that the creation. In fact, one I've used the same artist twice, because the affirmation decks. But when I Googled, and I actually, through somebody else, had said, oh, I know this artist that may be interested in doing it. And in fact, at that time I was going across Canada, and I thought, oh gosh, I wish I had time to actually meet with her. But I thought, oh, I'll just try and find her, and Googled her and found her and emailed her, and she got back really quickly. And she said, well, this is really strange. She said, because I was thinking, or I've been thinking for some time, I'd like to do some images for an oracle, or, a deck. So I'm like, oh, great. I love this when this synchronicity happens. And I connected with Heather Brewster, and she worked amazingly, because, it was one of those, how are we going to do this? What am I going to do? And it was a new learning curve for me, because I'd never done anything like this before. And so I thought, from what I was hearing from Spirit is, you are just going to give her the words. She is going to create the images. That was what I was told from day one with whomever I worked with. And that was exactly that. And, she said to me, well, what do you envisage? And I said, I don't, but Spirit have told me you do. So here are the words. And there was not one image that I had to actually say to her, no, I don't like this. Because I said to her, well, just do one to start with, and let's see how we get on from there. And it just rolled from there. So every time I've worked with an artist, I know they're the right artist that I'm working with on that particular deck, and that they actually know and get what they need to for the deck. So, they talk about trust being a big thing, but for me, it's like, okay, I don't know how I'm doing this, and they don't know how they're doing this. So I hope there's a lot of group guidance here, because we're going to need it. And that's how the deck came around. And at that time I thought, well, I need to find a publisher. And so I reached out to a few different publishers in Australia and in US. And I did actually get offered a publishing contract, but at that time I didn't feel it was the right direction to go. And so I decided to self-publish, which again was a huge learning curve and hurdle to know, because I knew nothing about publishing. I knew nothing about oracle decks. I knew nothing about anything apart from the kind of work I'd done. So it was a case of a great amount of trust.
I want to say, tell the audience, what's the difference between, a lot of people are familiar with the tarot deck. Some people have heard the name oracle deck. What's the difference between a tarot deck and an oracle deck?
Yeah, well, a tarot deck is made up of major and minor arcana cards. So think of it like higher truths and statements kind of thing. And there are a certain way that they're read. And if you think of a deck of cards, it has a king, a queen, and jack, and then from 10 down to the ace. Well, that's what a tarot deck is made up of. And then there's a bunch of what they call higher arcana cards, like the priestess, the hangman, and so on. So they're all made up in suits and honors. So there's wands, coins, swords, etc. So that's how they're made up. Like again, like you'd have hearts, diamonds, spades, and clubs in a suit. Whereas an oracle deck is a slightly easier way to read if you've never done any card readings before, because the image is what you're reading. So you could do any kind of spread similar to using a tarot deck. You can use past, present, and future. You can use all the different layouts and things. You can pull one card. On my deck, I have an 11 card spread that you pull, and you work through each section of it. But an oracle card is just that. It's an image with sometimes a word on it or words on it, and then you can refer back to the book. But I always say to people when they're using my deck especially, throw the book away or put it away somewhere safe and just tap into your intuition of what that card means to you within the question that you've asked. So they are slightly easier to use, I find anyway, and that's what I've heard from a lot of people.
You know, one of the best readings I ever did for somebody was just a playing card deck.
Yeah, and that you can use, again, it's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tool. It's an absolute tool.
Because I think it just opened me up not to think about going back to the book or thinking about, well, this card's meaning is this and this and this. It just opened it up to like, I have a slight idea of the meaning, but I just let myself open up, and I did so much better. My question to you, too, is, you said the spirits kind of influenced you on making these decks. They had a lot to do with the creation of them. Do you think spirit uses a lot of visual? My theory is, and I don't know, I want to see how you feel about it, is that spirits like to use a lot of visual imagery for communication, because who knows how things work on the other side. But if you have telepathy, you're going to use a lot of visual information. And I remember John Edwards, you mentioned. If you watched him do readings and stuff, he goes, I see a red rose, or I see a white rose, or I see this. He sees a lot of symbols. It's like he's got a tarot deck or an oracle deck in his head.
Yeah. I think it's their way, as I say, it's like, I'm in Mexico at the moment, and I know very little Spanish. So some of the words I will say I think are the correct way of saying it. And, somebody who lives here is going to say a word, and I'm going, well, I think we're saying the same word, but it sounds completely different.
No habla español.
Hable inglés.
Yeah.
But it's very much with clairvoyance. You've got the different clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance. So with mine, I see, hear, smell, sense, feel. And it can be a combination of all of those. In a reading, I can see an image of something. Especially if somebody's trying to describe themselves to me, I truly wish they'd just come up and say, hey, my name's Jason. Nice to meet you. And then we would be able to get on with the reading a lot quicker. But again, it's how they're trying to communicate through to me and how I'm interpreting that. You've only got to play a game of Pictionary or...
That's what it seems like.
Something like that, somebody's communicating by describing it, and afterwards you go, well, yeah, that actually looked like somebody riding a bicycle, but at the time you're going every other thing that's coming into your mind. So I think it's a bit like that they're trying to find a way, and then once they hook into it, then they'll start, I always call it blethering on and explaining in whatever way they can do. And mine can be a combination of visuals, hearing, smells, feelings, and everything in the reading. And now I don't allow myself to stop and go, I'm feeling this. But if somebody died of a heart attack or something like that, I can maybe feel a compression on my chest, or, if somebody's had a brain tumor or something like that, maybe I'll feel that sort of pain in my head or things like that, for them to quickly get across, this is what happened to me, or this is part of what was going on. Because I can tell you, if I get a compression on my chest, and I can feel that, I know I'm not having the heart attack. So I like to quickly relay that across to the person so that then they release. So they stop doing it. Yeah.
I always wondered that. Because I've had friends that are mediums, and I've had mediums on the show, and they talk about feeling these symptoms and stuff. I'd be like, okay, I got it. Stop, spirits.
Yeah, well, that's what I would say. I'm like, okay, I think I've got it now, so please draw away from that. It's been like holding a small child's hand, and they're trying to release from you, and it's like you're holding tighter and tighter, and it's like, Yeah, I got it. I'm good now. So yeah, it can be different things, and especially if it's an emotional reunion, which a lot of, I try to say to people, I'm not here to tell fortunes and things like that. I'm just really here to prove that, life does go on beyond the grave, and people come back, they want to explain something, say something, that kind of thing. I'll give you an example. I had a lady come to see me, time travel, so I can't even remember when. Mm-hmm. And the person that I was communicating with, and I knew that it was somebody very, very close to her, and it was her husband, and he kept on saying, it wasn't your fault, don't worry about it, it wasn't your fault. And some other things that went with it, and she just burst into tears, and she explained afterwards, when I'd given her some other information as well, that and it was such a sad story, that her well, not a sad story, it was her life, that they were on honeymoon and they were in the ocean, and he was being pulled on a riptide, and she went to grab him, and he almost like pushed her away. He wouldn't hold her hand. He knew that if he had held her hand, they would have both died.
Oh, wow.
And sadly, she'd come to see me about a month after this had happened.
Oh, my God.
So, for her, she said the biggest thing that she was trying to deal with, apart from his death, was, I could have done more. I should have swam out to him. And he kept on saying, no, it's not your fault. I knew it would take both of us. And so for something like that, that was very heartwarming, I suppose, for me to be able to pass on that to her, because she said, I have just struggled with it.
Oh, I can't imagine the kind of guilt she felt. And
oh God, and that was it. She said, I felt so much guilt because maybe it should have been me, or if I'd held on to him, then somebody else could have come, and blah blah blah. Even though she'd been reassured by the experts, if you like, that if she had held on to him, she would have been dragged out too, and they both would have died.
It's incredible that he was smart enough to and didn't panic and grab. Most people panic and grab on,
Yeah,
just human nature.
Did initially, and then he realized that he was pulling her out too, and then he just released himself.
Wow.
And so, of course, she saw him just being pulled away, and I can't even comprehend what that must have been like for her at all, let alone for him. But he was probably, I didn't actually check with him whether he was being told by spirit, you have to let her go, because maybe it wasn't her time to go.
Right.
But again, something, and to come and see me just under a month, I think it was, after he had passed, was, because she said, I truly didn't know if he would come through, but I was hopeful he would. And I said, well, he was obviously very much concerned that you were like beating yourself up in this, even in your grief and what was going on beyond that. But he didn't want you to do that anymore.
No.
And she said she just felt like a weight was lifted off of her shoulders. So now she could allow herself to grieve without the guilt attached to it.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that had to been a for you to pass on information that validated it to her, and to have that had to have been huge.
Yeah.
Now we are going to get to our second commercial break and take phone calls after this. What do you want the audience to know if they're going to call in? How do you do your reading?
Well, if it's possible, based on we have technical difficulties due to my end, is if I can actually hear the person and speak to them, then I just like to say just say their first name or whatever, and then if they have a question, that's great. We can certainly see if spirit can work on that, and if not, we'll see what happens.
All right, awesome. I will give out the Skype lines again when we come back from the commercial break. Don't try to call in now, even if you know the Skype line. Wait till after the commercial break when I say we're taking calls. Otherwise, I have to hang up on you because you mess with my music. So, but you can call in after the commercial break. We will be taking calls. We are playing music out the Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. Not that music. We are playing music out the Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. You can't hear it on Facebook, guys, so it'll be a little quiet until we come back from the commercial break. When we come back, Debbie A. Anderson, call in, see if Debbie can do a reading for you. We'll have the Skype lines available for you after this commercial break. Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Debbie A. Anderson. She's a clairvoyant medium, and she's going to be doing readings tonight. You can call into the show and have Debbie do a reading for you. We want to keep it short, so don't expect this to be a full-blown reading. Debbie will, we want to try to fit in a few calls tonight, so just remember, she's going to give you some information, but I might have to cut you guys short if it starts getting too long, because I want to make sure we get everybody a chance to call in. There are two Skype lines. The main audio-only Skype line is OOJBland, OOJBLANDOO. There is also a video Skype line where we can see you. They can see you on the Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup Facebook page live stream. I don't know if it'll work or not. Jeff thinks he might have it working. You can give it a shot. That's Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat. That's Skype ID. Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat. You can try calling in that way, and Jeff will take your phone call. All right, let's get back to our guests. You still there with me, Debbie?
I'm still here.
All right. Again, audience, you can call in. The Skype lines are open. Like I said, OOJBland, OO is the Skype ID. You can call in on and get a reading from Debbie. While we're waiting to see if anybody calls, like I said, I collect tarot decks and oracle decks. I love them. I collect Ouija boards. None of these things I use anymore, but to me, they're artwork. To me, they're beautiful.
Yes, definitely.
So when you're I know you have another artist make the pictures and the deck. Do you think that helps you because one of the things when I read is when I did it, I tried not to go by the book so much and just look at what I'm focusing on in the tarot picture. I like to use a tarot deck. That was my regular tarot deck. I would look for whatever, because there's so many. If people aren't familiar, you look at a tarot card. The minor arcana. There's so much stuff going on in the picture.
Oh, absolutely. And that I loved using when I started reading with tarot. And in fact, it was probably my most favorite deck out of all was the Rider-Waite deck. Yeah. I think because there's so much in each card, you could look at it 100 times and see something different every single time. Exactly. And it's the same when, when I teach people to use my deck in particular, they get the deck and they've got their book and everything. I go, oh, put the book aside, but we're going to actually read the cards, then go back and read the definition. And 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, they go, okay, that's really a great way of doing it, because you're not sort of honed in on this has to mean this. Because that's what I found with reading tarot. It's
got
like
multiple meanings. Yeah, there's multiple meanings in a card. We do have a caller on the line. Our regular caller in the show always has really great questions. Let's see if he's looking for a really great reading. Is Zach? Good. How you doing tonight, Zach?
I'm doing good, Jason. How you doing, brother?
Doing great. You looking for to have Debbie do a reading for you tonight?
Absolutely, and I promise to keep it as short as possible. Hey, Debbie. Very nice to meet you, Debbie.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, so here, I'll keep it a short summary. So I wanted to start up my own cigar brand, but here in the United States, we have the FDA, and the recent regulations have made it really hard for somebody new, for somebody like me to enter the market and all that. My question to you is, will eventually the FDA lift up these new regulations? Do you feel like I'm going to be going into this business? And if I am, do you feel I'm going to be pretty successful at it?
Okay, can I just step back from that without putting it to the business at the moment? I was sitting before, and I'm going, I wonder who the first caller is going to be. And I had a gentleman come through, and he said, okay, and please don't take this the wrong way. The gentleman came through, and I thought I was going to be speaking to a lady first. So, but I know this gentleman's for you, because just the way he said, he has many ladies around him. And please don't take that the wrong way, please.
Wow,
I don't
Zach.
mean that. And I don't stepping into that abyss there, but he laughs when he says it, and he's winking as well. So I think it was almost like a teasing with you, that it was something that he would always say, that, you know, you attracted female company, and you seem to connect with females better than males. So when you ask the question about the business, my first retort back, based on what this gentleman in spirit is saying, is if you're not working with the female on this, you need to. Whether it's going to actually be in the US that you're going to do this or not, I don't know. But this is not the only product you're going to be doing. You realize that, because there's something else you've also got up your sleeve that you've not released or shared with anybody else, that's not quite related to the first item that you want to do, but you're thinking it may be the way I can do this, and then ease into the other thing. Okay?
Okay, and I'm really hoping my fiance is not listening to this.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. So does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does make sense to me. It does.
Yeah. And the other thing that you've got to do, and this is on his recommendation, not mine, is to let go of a lot of stuff. You know, I say to people that, you know, sometimes we're led down this road by spirit, and it takes a different diversion of a route, okay? But if we keep on hanging on to, well, you know, I did this course, and I went on this course, and the course, it was a waste of money. You've got to look at the bigger picture there. What else did you accumulate or learn from it, or what did you achieve from it? And this is at the moment with whatever's going on, it's like you're not necessarily getting caught up in the details, but it's like that's pulling you down and holding you down and not allowing you to actually do what you should be doing. So you've got to let it go of a lot of stuff. And I don't know if that's just physically untying some knots and releasing the balloons into the sky and letting them go, or whether this is just something in you that when you can't move in the direction you're wanting to, like all of us, you get frustrated and you hold it in. So it might be an internal release that you need to get out. I always say to people, I wish that, you know, I'm going, this is maybe a business that somebody should start, that you could have what I call a screaming room, where you could just go into this padded room and just let it all out, punch the walls and, you know, just go, I've got to get it out of me. And then walking out and going, that feels so much better. Because if we do it in public or people around us, they get, you know, like, what the? So it's almost like that kind of a compressed that's happening with you at the moment. Okay?
Yeah, I understand fully what you're saying on that one. So without mentioning words and all that, I can definitely understand what you're talking about.
Yeah. But it's like whatever the second thing is that you've got up your sleeve, that will possibly come before the cigar side. But somehow it's going to open up the doors for that to be the next step. Okay. Oh, I love it when they talk in riddles, because the man's going, it's like step 2 has to come first and step 1 has to come second.
Okay.
I have to do this with Jason, because when we're talking, he said, you know, you can't drop the F-bomb on here, you know, it's family show, etc. And I said, I actually have a card in my deck called the F word.
That's awesome.
And I think this is with you, Zach, that you need to get rid of all the F words that are like frustration, frantic. Why is this formula not working? And then change it into other F words. I need to have the freedom. I need to be able to formulate something else and do it in that way. And I'm using actual words that begin with the letter F in that way, because it's almost like for you, you're being held back by the hurdles at the moment with everything. And sadly, and I don't mean this unkindly, but you've had this all through your life. Every time you want to set out on a journey to do something, you keep being held back, and then you have to either give up on it or it becomes a challenge to get there. So this is nothing new with you, what you're going through at the moment, but you do actually pick them. Do you understand what I mean by that? You pick almost like, shall I take route A, which takes me along the coastline and it's a nice gentle journey, or shall I take route B? I've got to hike up the mountain and it's going to be really hard. And, you know, sometimes that is the way we like to do it, and we can make changes along the way to make that route a little easier. But it seems like that's been one of the things that keeps happening in your life, that you tend to pick route B rather than route A. So maybe at this point with the cigars, don't go ahead with that at the moment. Pick route A, which is the second thing you're looking at, and focus on that first, and then move into the cigars secondly.
Okay. No, I definitely see exactly what you're going at. I did have a backup plan, you could say, but I mean, I don't want to go into too much information about it.
No, you don't have to. That's what he's just saying. He said, mum's the word. Don't share it yet, because whatever it is, I'm concluding from what he's saying, it's a good idea. Okay, but you're going to be working with a female on the good idea. If you're not already working with that female, you know who it is, he's saying.
That makes sense,
Okay.
Zach?
I'll have to ponder that one a little bit further, but I mean, I do appreciate, Debbie. Thank you so much for answering my questions. I really appreciate it, and you definitely gave me so much insight. That definitely helps me out a long way.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks for calling in,
Enjoy the
Zach.
rest of your evening.
All right, you too, brother. You take it easy, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, Zach.
Good night.
Just so the audience watching, I had somebody try to call in on the phone line. The phone line's down tonight. When I got a guest on by audio only, the phone line's down. I didn't have time to set up so I could have that phone line too tonight. Sorry. But there is the Skype line, JBland00. That is now open. Zach's off of that. But we have the Soup Live Chat 800 Live Chat Skype line. Let's hope, fingers crossed, people, we got Laura Lee on there, another one of my regular callers. And she used to love to call on this line and hasn't been working. Let's hopefully, fingers crossed, it's working. Can you hear us, Laura Lee? Uh-oh. That don't sound good. I see her face, but I don't know if she hears us.
Oh, well, can she hear? That's the thing. Can she hear me? Tell her to do the thumbs up if she can hear.
Thumbs up, Laura Lee, if you can hear. I hear her. She can't hear us.
That's the problem.
Oh.
I know.
All right. Well,
Line.
yeah, call the other line. Call the other
I'm
line.
hearing her come in and out.
Yeah, we got to get that
turn it
Skype. Yeah, just call the other Skype line, or I'll call her on it.
Don't you just love technology?
Yeah, they reset his settings, and ever since then we've been trying to get it to work. Even reinstalled Skype to try to get it to work. It just takes time and people to help test it, and we haven't had the time. So I'm gonna just call Laura Lee. Hopefully she gets a hint here. I'll call her on Skype. Hang up on her, Jeff. So you hear the Skype music. Hello, Laura Lee.
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. We thought it might work. We were about ready to test it tonight. We started to test it. We ran out of time, and we're like, well, we'll try it and see. No, darn it. We'll get it. We will get it working again. We'll get it working again. So we can see your beautiful, lovely face. But Jeff's got your picture up there.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's nice of you.
All right, Laura Lee. Here's Debbie.
Hello,
Hi, Debbie.
Laura Lee. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
Did you-
too. I'm
Did you have
actually
a
a fellow
question?
Canadian.
Oh, perfect. Well, we shouldn't go and where and all the rest of it, because otherwise we could just go on to the gabbling thing. So did you have a question, hon?
I do, actually. I've been doing readings all day, and as you probably know, we don't get the opportunity to get ourselves read. So I would love any
Exactly.
messages or a message
Okay.
from Spirit from you.
All
I
right.
love it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I love it. Okay, so I have to say that whatever's going on around you at the moment, you realize that something is coming to an end.
Yes.
Yes, you do. Okay, all right. I don't want to shock you and go into details on the air kind of thing, but in a way, although you've been resisting it, it is actually the best thing that will happen to you. And especially
I know
as this
exactly
year,
what.
Good, because especially as this year opens up for you, it's going to give you the freedom to actually move into other areas that you want to go into. You're going to be, I don't know if you're traveling at the moment, you're going to be doing a lot of traveling. You're going to be a lot of what I call footwork. Do you understand what I mean by footwork? You are going to be doing that this year, and I know you've been resisting, okay, but you're going to be doing it.
No, the reason why I know what you're telling me, I can validate that for you. I'm actually working with a mediumship mentor, and she told me word for word what you just told me.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. The thing is, with your guides and helpers that are working with you anyway, don't worry about the sleepless nights, okay? Don't worry about that. I try and say to people that sometimes this transition of when they up the stakes, if you like, and this is not that we're moving up to a higher level or anything like that. We have to transition to work closer with those in spirit that are working with us, so that the connection. So don't worry about the sleepless nights. I know it's a bit annoying to say the least.
It's funny you say that. I'm sorry. There's a bit of a delay, but I was going to tell you I didn't get any sleep last night.
Okay. Well, don't worry. I'm hopeful that you can sleep during the day, but if you can't, I always say to people, just remind spirit that you're a human being and we do need at least our 6 to 8 hours of sleep. So if we don't get it quite the way, we sometimes get what I call a 3-hour heavy REM sleep. So you'll definitely get it. The thing that I have to also say with you is, whatever you're doing at the moment, you aren't going to actually be continuing to do that in the way that you are doing it. So if you say you're reading cards or something like that, you're not going to need the cards any longer. Okay, you're going to be doing it
already. That's happening already.
And I know it's like the blankie situation that we mentioned earlier on, but it will be easier for you. And you know you can trust in those that are on the other side that are working with you, but it is a bit like stepping into the abyss and going, holy smokes. You know, I always say to people when, I do an evening of clairvoyance or an afternoon, of readings and things like that, when I'm, stepping out onto the stage, as it were, it's like Russian roulette. I have no idea what bullet, is going to come out of the gun. So, I do my prayers beforehand. I do my meditation. I and I go, once you get rolling, it's fine. But, it's okay to feel what I call the little bit of trepidation there at the beginning, because I always say to spirit, oh, don't leave me up the garden path and leave me standing there all on my own, because I'm going to look a right fool. And I can actually do that and achieve that on my own. I don't need help with it. But it is a case of trust, and you've got to understand that what you've been getting, especially in the last 3 or 4 months, has really stepped up the game for you. Okay? So,
and you're so right. You were so right. Everything you've told me, and you know what? I did things today I've never tried, but I'm pushing myself, and it's
good
working.
For you. It's pretty scary, and people go, oh, it can't be that bad. I'm going, oh, try it from this angle. It's a lot different. It is the right direction. You know that. I'm not going to say that every single door is going to be open for you as you approach it, but if it isn't open for you when you approach it, then go round it and head on to the next one.
Okay. All right. You know what, Debbie, you are amazing, because you've told me everything, and I wasn't testing you. I just wanted to see what came through, and I know I can validate everything you have said tonight. So thank you so much. I send you so much love.
Thank you. We'll connect with you on Facebook. I'd love to hear more about your journey.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I will. I'll add you. Have a wonderful night, and thank you so much. I send you so much love and light. Many blessings. Okay.
You too.
Have
Many blessings.
Thanks, Laura Lee, for calling in.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So it's only the Skype ID OOJBland00. Don't do the Soup live chat one. That we got to get that working. So OOJBland00 is the Skype ID. The phone line and the Soup live chat line are down tonight. Just the one. So anybody want to call in and get a reading? Now is your time. OOJBland00 is the Skype ID. So, it's interesting. I knew Laura Lee was going to have to call in because, one, she's from Canada, and two, I know she's into the doing Oracle decks and readings. So I knew she was going to call in and have
That's
to talk to you.
perfect.
Oh, we got
Absolutely.
another phone call on the line. This one I know too. How you doing tonight, Ira?
Hey, Jason. Hi, Debbie. Awesome show tonight.
Hi,
As
Ira.
always, it's been fantastic.
Ira Robinson is a host on Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network and program director for the network.
Oh, I feel very honoured that you took time out to call in and be part of this amazing show.
Oh, you've been doing an excellent job, and I thought, well, since you've been getting so many great validations from people, I may as well go ahead and call in and get a chance to.
Go for it. I love it. Did you have a
just
question
kind of
or
wondering,
just
I guess.
want to see Beth?
Yeah, well, I was kind of wondering, I'm deep thinking as far as my writing stuff is concerned. I guess just kind of figured I'd toss out there what kind of messages can I get as far as my writing career type thing is concerned.
Okay, with the writing side, I have a beautiful lady, and she's connected with you, and I'm not sure if this is grandma or mum, or like she's on family. She's from family, and sometimes when we got a bit more time, because she's going, oh no, definitely family. So this is either mum or grandma on that side of the family, and she's saying let's try and reword that a little. All right, because she said, you've got to stop doubting yourself. You start to write and then you shut yourself down. And she's saying, if you actually would just let yourself write without editing it as you went along, you would get a lot more done. So that's her, not me, okay? Please don't feel it was me.
Well, she's definitely not wrong.
And I know we do, because I write as well. And when I'm writing, sometimes I want to edit it. But she's saying, whether you do it on a typewriter, whether you do it in a book, or whether you do it on a screen, just get everything out that's in there and then shut it up, like close it up for when you've done it. And don't go back in and edit it and then go back in again afterwards and look at it, because you'll see it through different eyes. And please, again, don't take this wrong, but you are very critical of your work, not of other people's. You're very open and very, I suppose, what I would say, supportive of other people, but you are very hard on yourself, and you've got to actually stop doing that. So whether you need to, and please don't take this the wrong way, reprogram your own thought process in things, and let go of some of what I call the old paradigms that we get embedded into us. Well, not that might actually help as well. And when you're feeling what I call that monkey mind entering in, I always do the la la song. You know what the la la song is? You put your fingers in your ears and you go la 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 la. And you can pick whatever tune you want, but that way it stops that destroying what you have within you. And this applies to anybody that's listening in. The monkey mind is our conscious mind that tends to think it knows best, and actually it knows diddly squat, and it tends to override us because we get rationalizing with it and go, oh yeah, well, I'm going to look an idiot, or I shouldn't do this, or who do I think I am? And we start to believe it, and then we kill our own dreams. Your writing is very passionate, okay, she's saying. It's very, very passionate, and whatever you're writing about at the moment is very much attuned to your heart center. So this is something that means a lot to you. So that's why it's important, but it's almost like you feel like you have to keep going in and changing it or making it and creating it. And so write it, like keyboard it in or whatever it is, then close it up, walk away, do something completely different, then go back and read it. And you will see it with a lot better eyes than when you're doing it and trying to edit it. You've done a lot of healing on yourself as well, and I think possibly what the writing is at the moment is part of that healing process as well. Okay?
It's definitely a cathartic kind of experience, and that's one of the ways that I look at the writing, so yeah.
Yeah. But don't allow your so I call it the Debbie Doubters, which is awful actually because that's my name. So don't let the Debbie Doubters stick in there and grab you and pull your heart out because, as I say, do the La La song, fingers in the ears, and sing the tune that you need to sing that just says, I don't need to hear this. Because you have got a lot of people supporting you. Yes, there are one or two in your life that you could shed. And I mean that with all love and respect for what is happening around in your life. But there are some people that do come close to you that really shouldn't be. And maybe just ask them to keep their opinions to themselves. Because sometimes it can be very hurtful. And you're the kind of guy that will not say that to them. So either I would say give them a wide berth if you like, or don't involve them in that process when you're doing your writing. Like keep clear of them. I know for some writers they take themselves off and shut themselves away, no cell phones, no whatever. And I know sometimes we can't do that, but don't allow them to go through what you're going through because it is a process for you and you do need to just let it all out and get it onto paper. The good, the bad, and the ugly, okay?
To validate what you're saying here, I will say one of the biggest issues that I've always had as far as my writing goes is I had two ex-wives that decided the best thing that I could have done for me was to destroy everything that I wrote. And ever since then, I've had this whole self-defeatist kind of thing. Every time I go to sit down to write, the whole thing in my brain argues with me. No, you suck. You don't need to do this. This is not for you. And even though I've actually published multiple books, I still go through that every single time that I sit down at the keyboard. So yeah, you have definite validation with that.
I always see the little, what I call the voices there as like the little trolls on your shoulder, and that's when you give them the finger flick. You just flick them off and then see them spinning into the abyss as they hit the ground, kind of thing. It's like,
I thought you really flick them off.
Just let them go. Don't let that hold back what is inside of you, because whatever this is that you're working on, especially at the moment, is an important and integral part of your healing process as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a big project. It's one that I could do multiple books out of and get, I think, a lot of progress in my life as far as, monetary funds and that kind of thing is concerned. That's, I want to get to the point where I am being able to, because I'm disabled, and I want to get to the point where I can support my family through my writing if I needed to, So that's sort of my goal. But at the same time, that whole self-defeatist thing goes on. No, I don't feel like I deserve to have that kind of income coming in or anything. You
definitely
like that.
have to change that thought process. I always say, it's about changing the programming. It's like putting a new program in our laptop or whatever. Sometimes we need to upgrade and we need to let some of the data be dropped into the abyss because it no longer works for us. And that's okay.
Well, Debbie, one of the things I talk about on my shows all the time is about how the mind is all about one thing and one thing only, survival. And whatever your status quo is at that moment in time, your brain is going to do everything that it can do to keep you in that place because you're alive. Yeah. And if you were to change anything, well, it's afraid that you're going to die. So
yeah. And of course, the only thing that we actually own are our thoughts. So our mind is the only thing that we actually do own in this world. So, we have to work on the basis that do we want to keep this thought process going in our brain or do we want to just let it go? And I always say to people, we're our own worst enemy because we are our own Achilles heel. We know all our weaknesses. And the trouble is we throw them up in front of us just to prove that we were right and we don't need to.
Right, yes. Yes, exactly.
It's a transformation, and that. If you were to go back in your life over the last 10 years especially and see where you were to where you are now, if I could propel you 10 years ahead of where you are now to see where you'll be then, you would actually go, whoa, nah, I don't think, no, really? So see that as, Spirit always say we only see the light that's ahead of us and we only see it for a few feet ahead of us. But if they could switch on the whole panoramic view of our life, we would absolutely be, and I think the kids say gobsmacked. Well, that's maybe that's a British thing. Like, we would be in awe of it. We wouldn't believe it. So that's why they only put a little bit of light around us so we can just see enough ahead to keep going.
I can
That's
definitely
what you need
understand
to do.
that. Jason, do you mind if I ask her one other question? I know you probably got other calls and stuff coming in, but do you mind if
Nothing
I do one
yet,
other?
but go for it.
Okay. Well, Debbie, let me hit you with this one then, and this one's a totally different track. This one is regarding health, and I'm trying to figure something out. Basically, just trying to get basically an explanation for what's happening. Can you tell me what's going on with my neck? And kind of leave it at that. We can see what happens with that.
Okay, all right. Okay. Now,
with my neck. With my neck.
Yeah, I'm a great believer that what words and thoughts manifest within our body. So if you've been using expressions like so-and-so's a pain in the neck, or with the vibrational energy therapy I do, the healing side of it, it's looking at the body as a whole, and we hold a lot of our trauma in our spine, and especially our neck is that little pivotal point at the top that holds that really heavy part of us on there, our head. So if you can reflect back things that you may have been saying inadvertently, or thinking, or hearing from others that are, like, should I put my neck out? These are all, associated with it. A bit like saying, somebody's spineless or he's got no backbone. That's one part of it. So that's mind related. Do you understand what I'm saying with that?
I do, yeah.
Okay. The other part of it is with your neck, and you've already said that you're disabled.
I am, yeah. I'm blind, so.
Yeah, but you're not getting the right format of movement at the moment in your life. Now, I don't know if this is because of the way you are. Like, I sit on a chair a lot of the time in front of my laptop when I'm writing.
Let's say he's a writer, so I can, I know how that goes. You bend down, you're typing away. It's not good for the neck.
So there are physical things. So if we don't look after that, but it's a combination of thought processes and not doing the formula of exercise or relief that you need for yourself. There's also the other part. This is part of traumas, and this neck thing, from what I'm hearing, and this is a gentleman who's just stepped in here, very tall gentleman actually. I'm starting to feel a bit like a midget. I'm only 5 foot something, so for me, anybody tall is anybody over 5'6". So he may be only about 5'6", but he seemed like a giant to me. He's talking about, oh gosh, no, you're taking me off track, sir. Oh my goodness. All right. The gentleman that's in spirit, I'm hopeful you know who he is. He's on Dad's side of the family, and he was a bit of a talker, and he'd be the kind of person when you start to talk about something that you go, well, hang on a minute, we weren't talking about that just a minute ago, but he's taking you off in a different direction. He's just done that to me. I've lost my complete thought process with what I was talking about the next, so I apologise for that. He's laughing, and I'm going, yeah, but it's not funny from this end. I'm trying to give a message here, and you've now taken me completely off track with what I was saying. Thank you, sir, and good night. Part of what is happening with the neck is your healing process, but it's a combination of your mind and how you're relating to your own physical body as well as your spiritual body. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Because I know you've done a lot of transformations with your own spiritual side and things you've let go of and things you've had to overcome. But this is about all your healing for you. So the neck, there's an amazing author called Debbie Shapiro, and she's written the Body Mind Workbook. I think it's still in publication, I hope it is, but she talks about the way the neck or any part of the body and how that relates to us and what we've triggered within ourselves. So, Anna, if it is something that's only triggered recently, then just have a look at that. And if you actually look up neck and the spiritual or physical connections with it, you should find some information on that. If it starts to resonate with you, then please make note of it. But if somebody's talking to you about doing surgery or something on it, can you please hold off for a little while?
Well, what it is, just again for validation purposes for you, about 3 or 4 years ago now, I believe it's been about 4 at this point in time, I literally woke up one day with a swelling at the crux of my neck and my shoulder on the right-hand side. And ever since then, the swelling has sort of been growing. It's been getting larger. It kind of intrudes into like causing some pain and aching and that kind of thing. But every time that I've had it checked to see if it is actually something legitimately to be concerned about, they can literally find nothing. There's no reason that they can find for it to exist. And yet it's still there and it still bothers me and so on and so forth. So, just kind of curious as to what's going on.
This is not my field of expertise, but I'm wondering if it's a past life that was being triggered by something and has manifested. Now, this is not my field of expertise. It's certainly my husband's, but it's not mine. And I don't want to go that direction with it. But if you want to connect with me, email me afterwards. I'll give you his information because usually if something manifests, it can be that it is something from a past life. And I'll just quickly give you an example here. Many years ago, my husband had a lady that came. She'd had a car accident, okay? She had whiplash, but the whiplash was still there, even though it was a year or so afterwards, and the doctors could find no medical reason why she would still be having that pain. Well, my husband worked with her, and it turns out that she was beheaded or guillotined, her head chopped off, in another lifetime. Now, what had happened was the car accident had triggered the memory from that past life and brought it forward into this life. And so because she didn't know what it was associated with, that just stayed there. That pain stayed there from it. And if you think of it, being beheaded would be the ultimate pain in the neck. So I'm not saying that's what is happening with you, but it's a possibility that you would have to look at what was happening to or around you at that time as well, of whether it was related to something that's been triggered from a past life. So as I say, you can certainly email me and I'll certainly give you some information on what my husband does, and you can make a decision on that yourself. As I say, it's not my field of expertise whatsoever, but I get the sense of whatever is, do not, it's associated, well, like I was saying at the very beginning, mind, has taken over here, and yes, it can do with past life as well.
Okay, I can definitely understand that. Thank you so much for the information tonight. I'm glad that you've been here tonight with Jason and the Paranormal Soup crew. I have to say, Jamie, come into the chat. We miss you. Anyways, thank you for the show tonight. It's definitely appreciated. You guys have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thanks for calling in, Ira.
So much.
Maybe me and Ira both were decapitated back in the past because, knowing us, we probably were decapitated for hearsay or something. But I have horrible neck problems too, so I'm sitting here listening intently to it. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, as I say, certainly not my field of expertise, but I've, through my husband and the work he does, I've heard many case histories. He's written 3. He's working on his 4th book, but he's written about many case histories where people have had this, and it's a car accident. You've got whiplash, but why would it still be there several years later? There's got to be another reason for it. Medical, with RSE said, they can see no medical reason that this would be happening. So I would be curious on that one. Totally curious.
Yeah,
but
I'm fascinated by it. I know it's not your expertise, but you bring up the past life thing, and you wonder how much if past lives are real, how much that affects these other phenomenon on that level. It's like the ghosts that came to you as a child. Maybe they knew you in a past life. And
exactly. Well, we're all interconnected, and I do truly believe that without going into the quantum physics of things, that the spirits and guides and helpers that work with us are all connected with us in some form, whether it's been in a past life or a future life or, parallel life or whatever, that we've all been connected. That's why they offer to work with us. And it may be next time round that I say, hey, I don't want to go back and do this Earth thing again. It's way too dense and heavy for me. Can I just stay here on this side and help one of you guys?
There's too many stupid people. I'm sorry.
I just, people say to me, why is it so difficult here on Earth? And I said, well, this is the place where, in spirit, we're in pure love, and there's no emotions, there's no love, there's no hate, there's no anger, there's no frustration, there's no happiness. It's just pure energy. So we come here to actually experience that. And sometimes, I sort of shake my fist to the sky and go, oh, truly? Really? You think this is something I need to learn? Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, what are the kids learning eating Tide Pods?
Oh, gosh, I conclude sometimes that I, wonder with, just things that go on in my life and then in the world in general and to other people that I know. And I go, yeah, this is Earth. This is a dense, real thick, as you say, like a soupy thing that we have to go through and we have to experience. So,
we're making keychains with little live pets inside plastic bags. That's what we had on the World Wide Web. Weird. That that would be Exhibit A when I go the other side of why I don't want to come back. I'm going, please let me get it right this time because I don't want to come back and do this all again. Please let me make it happen and make it right. I'm like, I don't want to come back because I don't want to ever see another episode of The Kardashians or ever hear a song by Kanye West.
Well, this is a big reminder to me why I don't have cable and watch TV. So I am very pleased that, when I hear other people talk about some of these things, they look at me and they go, do you live in a cave? Like the people phone up and say, well, we'd like to offer you a package with this and this and this. And I go, I don't watch TV. So as much as it may seem like a great package, the only thing I use is the internet for my work. And that's it. But thank you.
Thank you very much. If you do start getting sucked into that, if you did get a TV and start watching the news and all that, you'd want to go hide in a cave.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is, because people say to me, well, you don't know what's going on. I said, oh, I do. When I know, it's the confirmation that I get from other people. I go, oh, that's what was going on. Okay. Yeah, now I know. Yeah. And it's like, I didn't need to hear it on the news or get caught into the fear factor or whatever, the big thing is that's going on in the news that they want to share with. I always wonder why it's called the, news when it's not really good news. It's, most of the time it's very depressing. And absolutely. So.
Oh, we live in a really messed up time, I swear. Nobody told me there'd be days like these,
But it is also a time of awakening. People are waking up. People are not taking a lot of the crap and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
And it's good. It's sad it's taken so long to get this far, but it's very good as well. And I'm a great believer out of something bad always comes something good because it creates the change that we need at that particular time.
Well, things are changing, all right. Definitely things are changing.
Oh, absolutely. Where I am staying in Maslin, they had an earthquake off the coastline. And where I live back in Canada, they had an earthquake there within the same time span. And where I live in Canada, there aren't earthquakes. We get tornado touchdowns and things like that, but they haven't had an earthquake there since the 1970s. So, things are changing. And, Mother Earth is going, hey, I just need you guys to be aware of some stuff here.
Yeah, stop putting little animals in plastic bags. I mean, seriously. I mean, you have such a kind heart. The moment you came, we had you on before the show to talk. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a good show because you have really great energy, and it's just what you're doing. The work you're doing. There's so many people that poo-poo it and don't believe in it
course.
and stuff. And I understand that, but I mean, if anything, you are helping people. Like one of their first examples is the lady, with her husband that was pulled away from you. You helped her with her grief. I mean, if anything, you're doing that.
I hope so. I truly hope that, as I say to people, I'm only here to give you proof that life goes on beyond the grave. And, sometimes I'll meet people for the first time and they'll say, oh, what do you do? And I go, I'm a clairvoyant or I'm psychic medium. And, sometimes it's like saying I'm a proctologist, and that's okay. You've asked me the question. We don't have to continue the conversation. But some people look at me and they go, so what are you picking up from me? And that's when my bad comes in and I want to say things like, oh, you really don't want to know.
I don't do this often. I've had a lot of mediums on the show. I have friends that are mediums, but I don't ask this. I don't think I ever have asked this, but do you get anything from me? Like we've been talking tonight. Did
I actually did. It was very first when we were talking. At the very beginning there, I wanted to share something, but I know that we were trying to sort out things that were going on because of my computer not wanting to play with the system. But with what is happening, and I know you said that you don't play with the tarot or the oracle cards or things like that anymore. You do a lot of information that sometimes you hold back and don't share.
Oh yeah.
All right. Boy. So sometimes, and I always say to people, because I love watching the Long Island Medium. I have seen a couple of her shows, and love her or hate her, whatever, she's done a lot for the kind of work that I do and for others, making it open. Now, I'm not one of these people that goes up to people in the streets to give them a message, because I always think it's actually permission based. Exactly. If I have to be meeting somebody and they're talking about something and I get a message, I usually say, is it okay if I share something with you? That's what you've got to start doing. Okay? It's something you need to do, because if not, Spirit will keep knocking at that door until you actually follow through with it.
There's a lot of things
they won't give up on you. They truly won't.
Oh, so you're saying they are trying to get me to talk to people?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, boy.
Not in a way that you're going to be doing the Long Island Medium kind of stuff, but you may be.
Yeah, I've had a lot of things in my life. I've pushed it away. We do got one more caller I want to try to fit in.
Okay, sure.
Who we got on the line here?
Melissa.
Hi, Melissa. How you doing? This is Melissa. Called in last the ITC show, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we had a great session with you on there. Thank you for calling in on that show. I'm gonna let Debbie here talk to you now.
Hi, Melissa. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing well. Did you have a question, or did you just want to see what I can pick up for you?
Actually, I just wanted to see if you could pick up if I'm on the right track, or if I'm gonna be able to get any answer of what I'm trying to get answers for.
Sorry, just repeat that. It beeped out. It blipped out on me here on the other end. Sorry.
I'm trying to get some answers of some questions about my childhood, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to or not, and I don't know. I don't know if you can pick up the vibes about it. I don't know if I'm on the track.
Okay. I have a lady in spirit, and I don't know who she is to you. Okay. And I don't know if you've actually met her. So I will share what she's sharing with me, and I hope that it means something to you, because I get a lot of sorrow from her coming towards you. And I think it's her sorrow of something she didn't follow through with you. Okay? All she keeps on trying to relay to me is, I'm sorry for what I didn't do for you. Okay, so I'm hoping you understand what she means by that, because she's saying, whatever this is to you at the moment, what you're trying to find out, it's causing you a lot of pain and anguish, although you want the answers. If I was to say to you, if you could wish upon a star, or you could make a wish, and Spirit could grant that for you. Make that wish something that's actually going to make a change in your life now, not to the past. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yes.
As much as things can be very painful, the what's happened in any of our pasts, for you, she's saying, please look to the future, because you have a bright little button, and she's saying you have a bright little button. So I'm assuming this is a child that you have, or somebody that's very close to you, that has so much joy that they bring to your life, but you feel that whatever was in your life was not the same that you can give back to them. Oh gosh, that sounds like a riddle me ree, sorry. So if I was to give you one wish, I am hopeful that you can wish on something you want that's going to affect your future, not that will pull something from the past. That's what she's saying to me, okay? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Actually, because she's coming through for my father. My father had to sign me away, and I always wondered why. And that actually made sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
She says she doesn't want to bring you sorrow. She wants you to have the joy of your little bright button.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And sometimes, as hard as that may be, we have to shift our energy to see what we have in our life at this moment. And I know you've gone through, from what she's saying, it's almost like your whole body went into cellular collapse, and it's taken you a long time to pull yourself out of that rabbit hole, if you like, and pop your head back up above the rabbit hole, and to step outside. Now she's saying, dust yourself down, push your head out high, and you walk forward.
Makes sense.
Well,
Your openness at the moment to things is absolutely amazing. And you will share that with other people as time goes on. I don't know what support group you work with or what group you're working with at the moment. I don't necessarily say it's a support group, but there's a group that you work with, and you assume that they're helping you. You're actually helping them.
I'm in a group for bipolar.
You're helping them. They're not helping you. Okay? So please see that in who you are. Okay, see that in who you are. Don't make, what is it I always say, don't believe some of your own publicity. Okay, do you understand? I'm meaning that in a joking way. Sometimes we put ourselves there, and we can find all the things, like we were saying earlier, we can put all those negative connotations on everything. But don't do that. Don't believe your publicity.
Yeah, I actually got that for some reason.
You've shifted so much, you don't realize it.
I wish the show was 3 hours. I wish I could keep going. This is a great call. Thank you, Melissa, for calling in.
Thank you, Melissa. Blessings to you, hon.
Have a great night.
Thank you, guys. Hugs and kisses. Loves.
All right.
Bye.
Good night, Melissa.
Bye-bye, sweetie.
Well, thank you so much, Debbie, for being on the show tonight. Amazing calls tonight. Every time I have these kind of shows, I'm like, I got to do 3 hours.
Well, you can, if you want to, I would love to come back on again. So,
yes, definitely.
Reach out. I'd love to.
Definitely have you back on, and we can kick it off with just doing phone calls right into the start of the show. So yeah, definitely want to have you back.
Okay, you don't need to hear a story. Just get on with it.
No, definitely want to have you back on the show. We'll do a night of readings.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Thank you.
All right, and before we go, give out your information for people, how they find you and contact you.
Yeah, well, my website is www.vibrational-energy.com. And if you go onto the landing page there, if you want to connect with me on the social media, everything, it's all there. Just click on the links. It'll take you to Twitter and Instagram or Facebook or to my YouTube channel. There's free readings you can get on there using the Oracle deck, the vibrational energy and the vibrational earth children's oracle deck. You can download my a mobile app for both of the decks. There's 11 cards, and you can download it for a limited time free of charge just to play with it. There's plenty of ways to connect with me. Just head to my website and click on any of the links on that landing page.
Awesome. Like I said, Debbie, I'd love to have you back on the show again. We'll definitely do it and have you on and have a night of readings.
Thank you so much, Jason. I've truly enjoyed it. Can I just do quickly one message for your very lovely lady that just was on when we were talking at the very beginning?
Yeah.
Just say to her, whatever you are still in indecision about at the moment, go with what your gut is telling you, okay? She'll know what I mean by that.
Right.
We don't have to go into any details or anything. There's something she wants to do and she's not quite sure about it. Go with your gut feeling, please.
Was this for the caller or is this for Jamie?
No, this is for your assistant.
Co-host. Yeah, see, she got you in the end, Jamie.
Jamie, I couldn't remember her name. Sorry, Jamie. I do apologize.
Every meeting that comes on here has something to say to Jamie, like around those lines. Every time.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it. It was worth going over. It was worth going
Go
over.
with your gut feeling, Jamie. Please, you keep on putting this off and go with your gut feeling, because you're right. Your gut feeling's always right every time. You know that, and you know it after the fact. But just go with it when you need to make the decision. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're fine. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you for the work you do.
You got it right in the end. We say I was waiting. Thank you.
I'm sorry I forgot your name, Jamie. I truly do. Sorry I forgot it.
All right, we do got to go, though.
At the beginning.
We are running over, so thank you so much, Debbie. We will definitely have you on again.
Thank you.
All right, guys, next Sunday, same bat time, same bat channel, we will have on for part 2 another psychic profiler that we decided to have back on right away as soon as I could get him on, because he's got some updates on the cases he talked about. Robbie Thomas. Robbie Thomas is coming back on. He was such a great guest. We're bringing him back on because there's a couple updates to some of the stories we talked about, some of the cases he worked on. So we're going to talk about that, and we'll take phone calls into that show too, guys. So next week, 10 p.m. to midnight Central, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern on Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. Please go to the website and check out Late Night in the Midlands. Subscribe, donate, do anything you can to help keep this network going. And then check us out on Facebook at Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, where we got our webcast always live on Sunday nights. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you next week.